Hi, I'm Sarah, and today I'm going to talk about how to tell the difference between echeverias and sempervivums, also known as hen and chicks, and aeoniums, and graptopetalums, and graptoverias. When I first started getting interested in succulents, I, um, I would often find one in a store somewhere that would be clearly marked as a succulent, and I would have a lot of difficulty having any idea what kind of plant I actually had. And so I done a lot of research. I have a lot of plants now, and I've learned a lot of rules of thumb for telling the difference between these sort of main kinds of succulents. I should note, for the record, I didn't read these in books anywhere. These are just trends that I've noticed that seem to work well for me. So I don't I wouldn't say like this is the word of God or anything on succulents, but this is generally how I usually tell the difference or get at least an idea of what kind of plant I'm looking at. Um, so uh, so in front of me, we have a lot of different plants. So the most common plant or succulent that I encounter is Echeveria, and it's kind of difficult, I think, for people to tell the difference between these main kinds of plants because they all sort of have a rosette shape. You can see right here, all these, they all kind of look like flowers, and they're all very pretty. And it's not uncommon to see Sempervivum, a hen and chicks, marked as an Echeveria by someone somewhere. So first, I'll tell you how to tell the difference between those main two. So right here we have some Echeverias and some Sempervivums. Uh, so one of the, they're all mixed up right now, but I'll separate them. So over here, we've got all our Echeverias, these ones right here, and then we've got our Sempervivums, 1, 2, and 3. These are all different kinds. But the main way that I tell the difference here is that echeverias usually have much thicker leaves. So you can see like right here with this Echeveria lola, that these leaves are, I don't know, pretty thick. In contrast, we have the Sempervivum red Reuben, and this one that I can't remember the name of, but it is a Sempervivum. And this guy down here is also a Sempervivum. And you see the leaves are much thinner. Now, these two plants are different sizes, but even if we pick two that are more similar in size, you can see that like these leaves here on the left are much thicker than these. Um, Also, these leaves are pointier on these sempervivums, and so that's generally how I tell the difference at first glance. Additionally, there are some other ways you can tell the difference. Sempervivums, in my experience, often grow out more to fill an area, in contrast to echeverias, which will grow sort of out from one base plant. So here's an echeveria. It's actually a ruffled echeveria. Um, and it's really common with echeverias to, if you just like lift them up or look right under the base, you can see we have like another little rosette growing out here, and also this little rosette growing out. But they're just sort of growing out of the base, and so when you look at the plant, it's sort of they're almost hiding underneath it. And in contrast with sempervivums, these guys sort of cover more of like a flat area. And you can see these, although these additional rosettes obviously started from the base, they really grow out to the side more, instead of kind of coming out of one central point like a bouquet almost. So that's not a hard and fast rule. You will see echeverias that grow like this. And you'll probably also see sempervivums that grow in the way I described for an echeveria. But that I have found it's frequently true. Um, One thing to notice is with these echeverias that they really look quite different though. So one of the best ways to tell these apart is just to see a whole lot of them. But here we have Echeveria subsacellus, and that's an Echeveria elegans, also called Mexican snowball. Echeveria perlum von Nurnberg right here, which is a very famous one for its nice pinkish color, which can get much redder in ideal conditions. Um, and Echeveria Black Prince, which is one I just recently received as a gift and I have never seen before. Um, there are also some Echeverias that'll try to screw with you a little bit. In particular, Echeveria runyonia, I believe is how you pronounce it, which is commonly called topsy-turvy. And you can see that the leaves are almost inside out, which is, I'm sure, why it's called topsy-turvy. Um, but it has a really different look to it. But again, the leaves are still much thicker than the leaves of these sempervivums over here. Now, another thing to keep in mind, let me move these sempervivums out of the way, is you'll often hear about graptopetalums. Graptopetalums, I don't actually have very many of those, so it's going to be hard to show you, but I do have one, Graptopetalum amethystinum, and you'll notice that these leaves are much fatter. They almost look like jelly beans, and so it really has quite a different character to it. And so, in general, a Graptopetalum is going to have thicker leaves. Now, the reason these have such a jelly bean look is because this plant is pretty young. Also, it's had some trauma in its short life. When Graptopetalums amethystinums get much bigger, these leaves get they get a little bit flatter. So when they're young, they have a much more jelly beanish look to them. But still, even when they're older, they will have substantially thicker leaves than the average Echeveria. Something else you're likely to see is Graptoveria. Graptoverias are a hybrid between an Echeveria and a Graptopetalum, and as you might expect from what I just said, that means that they usually have thicker leaves than an Echeveria, but leaves that are not as thick as a Graptopetalum. So this is Graptoveria Debbie, and you can see it has thicker leaves than most of these Echeverias. Not exactly though. It can often be difficult to tell the difference for me between a Graptoveria and an Echeveria, because sometimes they just look pretty similar. So that one I'm never as confident if I just make a guess between those two. But Graptopetalums, you can usually have a high confidence that you can distinguish that. Over here I have another Echeveria. This is a ruffled Echeveria, like this guy, although they're different ruffled Echeverias. You can see that they have this nifty little like crinkly quality to the leaves. So that's, I think, mostly unique to Echeverias. So that's also a good indicator that you probably, not necessarily, but probably are dealing with an Echeveria. Finally, another plant that you want to be able to distinguish sometimes is an Aeonium. Aeoniums are different from all of the plants we just described in one sort of interesting scientific way, which is that they are monocarpic. So Echeverias will often grow flower stalks right out of the center of these neat rosettes. The rosettes here are not flowers, they're actually leaves, and so they will flower if they're in ideal conditions, as will Aeoniums. But a monocarpic plant is one that for each rosette, once it flowers, it dies right after it. So I have these Aeoniums here. However, that's not really how you can distinguish them. You can't wait until it flowers and see if it dies. That's not a very fast way. So the way that I can often tell Aeoniums is that in ideal conditions, they will have more of a flatness to their rosettes. So like in this one in particular, you can see that if you look at it from the side, each of these rosettes sort of has like one flat plane that all the leaves kind of open to. In contrast, like you can see these Echeverias clearly don't. They're just, if you look at them, from the side, they're a series of leaves that are poking up into the air. So with Aeoniums, I can usually tell the difference because the sort of the face of the leaf faces up more. However, these four plants, this one, and this one, are all the same plant. These are all Aeonium kiwi, and you can see they all have quite different appearances based on the conditions they've been exposed to. So in this guy, you can tell still the faces of the leaves are pointing upward more than, say, this guy, where it's more points. The points are pointing upward. But with others of them, it can just sometimes be hard to tell. So now that you know to look for this, if you really want to be able to distinguish Echeverias and Aeoniums, you can look online. Aeonium sunburst is a very popular one. Look for other pictures of Aeoniums and see if you can notice the sort of flatness of the rosettes. That's usually the first indicator to me. One other way you can often tell the difference is that Aeoniums will get sort of leggy in a way. Leggy is a term people use when they talk about succulents, which means they have unattractive long stems, as this guy does. So with Echeverias, you don't usually get these long stems that kind of come off and have bends in them like a tree. They will get leggy, they will grow tall. I don't have a good example right here, but you don't usually see quite this separation. If this were an Echeveria, probably all this intermediate space between the rosettes would probably be filled up with other Echeverias. Anyway, these are some good guidelines to use, and you can see, like right over here, I have a plant that I don't know the name of. I just recently got this as a gift. And so I can come over here and say, well, to me, it's clearly not an Aeonium. All these little leaves are pointing up with their points. Um, and so it might be an Echeveria. However, these leaves are pretty thick. Look at that one compared to this Echeveria Perla von Nurnberg, and you can see it really, the leaves are quite thick over here. So my guess is that this might be a Graptoveria. It might not be though. Sometimes they're just quite different, and you can see like here's the Graptoveria Debbie that I showed earlier. Even its leaves are thinner, so it could be a Graptopetalum, but it's really hard to say because there's just such a wide variety of all of these plants. But I can say with confidence that it's definitely not an Aeonium, and it's definitely not a Sempervivum. You can see it really doesn't look anything like these three Sempervivums that I've got back here. So there are also Haworthias, which have different characters to them entirely. They still have sort of a rosette look. Unfortunately, I don't know how to identify a Haworthia with any kind of confidence, so I can't tell you. But if anybody knows, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message. I'd be grateful to learn. So I hope this has been helpful.